Okay, so with my recent video, it has become crystal clear that the gaming community in general is just dumb. And I know what you're thinking. Like, wow, Orangey, that's kind of, rough coming out straight out the gate like that. But it's the truth. There's way too much negativity and like dumb people, stupid people that think that giving their opinions, their hate-filled opinions, mind you, is somehow going to make the game better. The game, rather it being Marathon or the most recent game that came out, Monster Hunter Wilds, a game that was best-selling in its franchise, was also surprisingly heavily criticized. And if you're wondering why Monster Hunter Wilds, the best-selling game in its series, was heavily criticized, it was criticized because of the difficulty, not because the game was bad or it had bad mechanics or it had really bad graphics. It was because of the easy difficulty that a lot of veteran and like longtime players are finding the game really easy. And most of all, these content creators that are shoveling hate slop, yeah, I hate that word slop too. It's an overused word. Same with Concord. Concord and slop are their most overused words in the cesspool that is like the gaming community. But videos like this, is Wilds too easy? Yes. And there is some people fighting back, like shut up about the difficulty in Monster Hunter Wilds. And this amazing 4-hour video that I haven't watched yet by Mr. Monster Hunter Meatman, you were wrong about Wilds and World, difficulty, misinformation, and psychology in Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter Wild has a difficulty problem. And all those videos being like a month or two old. And you would think a very successful game in almost every right, except for like the performance, it was having like some really bad performance issues on like PC. Which those people are completely valid in their criticisms because they just can't play the game. That was totally Capcom's fault. And they are 120% allowed to get mad at that. But I'm talking about the people that like blatantly just bitch and complain about every little thing without even like giving it a fair shot or a try. An example being, and hold up, everyone's favorite word, Concord. And what's unfortunately looking to be a upcoming example, which is going to be Marathon. And I want to get this out the way right now. Marathon is not going to be a Concord 2. People that are saying that are just rage baiting and they're trying to doom and gloom everything that comes out. But Concord didn't have that many players. And that was for, some pretty good reasons. Reasons being it was a hero shooter in a overly saturated market. And if you think back to when that game was released or when it just had like its beta, Marvel Rivals was in the same boat. Everybody was criticizing that game for it being another hero shooter in a overly saturated market. They were like, oh, this is just Overwatch. No one cares about this. What do we see now? Overwatch is doing the same thing. They're copying Marvel Rivals with their own third-person game mode, which does, actually look pretty good, but back to Concord, why it failed. It was a hero shooter in a overly saturated market. Did it not have backing? No, it definitely had backing. There was a ungodly amount of money poured into that game. And frankly, it looked good. It looked okay at best. It was colorful. There's a whole section of people that are like, oh, why don't games have color anymore? Everything's gray or desaturated. Everything looks gloomy. But when a game has color, like how Concord did, or even Marathon has a crapload of color. Now they're saying it looks soulless or it's too loud. They need to tone it back. Again, the gaming community is stupid. Now I can talk about Concord because I've actually played the game and the game definitely had issues. I'm not going to say, Concord was perfect. Just the game community just shit on it for no reason. No, they had valid points. It was bad, but it didn't feel bad to play. The gunplay, the aiming, the shooting, just the feel of how it felt very nice. Now the movement was super slow, which they could have tweaked that, if given the chance. But they never did. And okay, the character designs were out there. They're pretty wacky, and a lot of people didn't like them. They literally tried something new, and people were calling them woke because they had like pronouns and genders in there or whatever. Who cares? Again, I'm gonna say this again multiple times in this video. The gaming community is stupid, and I'm not just gonna sit here and defend Concord. Did it deserve to fail so drastically? I don't think so. There was a lot of people that covered this game and uploaded some very negative reviews for certain things that they didn't like, and that just snowballed, like, on that cesspool you call Twitter, which they tried to do with Monster Hunter Wilds. They said Monster Hunter Wilds had no content, it's too easy, who's this game made for, who's the base audience? Us veteran players feel left out. And I'm gonna say this for the really dumb gaming community. The developers, they most likely care about veteran players and like really hardcore players. You know who doesn't though? The higher up people that control the devs. And again, I gotta reiterate this, I'm not defending what these gaming companies are doing. That's just how it is. And is it going to change? No. Do you know why? Because the gaming community is very stupid. Here goes another point of why they're really dumb. Nintendo but their games are going to be $90. Or let me rephrase that. They're going to fluctuate their prices depending on what the game is or what the content is in the game. Because that Donkey Kong game is $70, but goddamn Mario Kart is $90. And yes, I've seen some very good pushback on this, but I've also seen a lot of people defending this. And you're gonna have to be honest with yourself, this is not going to change because Nintendo fans will buy and gobble up anything that Nintendo gives them. That Mario Kart could be $130 and they're gonna be on the front lines defending it and they're gonna be the first one to buy it. There was a lot of people defending Nintendo's philosophy on why they're hiking up the price to $90, that like drastically. And you know, I do see their reasoning, but also the reasoning is kind of stupid. They're saying, oh, for the value of the game and how many hours you play, $90 doesn't seem that much money. Because if you're gonna play the game for like 1,000 hours, $90 is like nothing. But by that logic, GTA 5, a game that released like what, in 2013, 2012? Should have been like $500. Okay, I'm not gonna go that far. It should have been like probably like 100 or 120 because the longevity and the updates that game has had for a numerous amount of years, that will justify the price. That's their philosophy, and people are agreeing with them. And there's a game like what, Schedule 1, which I don't know how much Schedule 1 costs because I'm pretty sure it's an indie game, but all of the streamers are dumping hours into this game, gaining views, and making hundreds of dollars off an indie game. If we're going by Nintendo's philosophy, that game would have been $200. Schedule 1. And certain few people have like shined light on this subject before, and they always say the saying, vote with your wallet, which means if the gaming community bands together and don't buy something, the game is going to do horrible and they're going to like rework it. I think the very most prominent time that the community has done that was against Concord, and it was totally their fault because they had their beta so close to the release of the game, which by the time they got all the feedback, they really didn't implement anything, and it was just the same game on release, and like no one liked it. And of course, in the age of free-to-play games, it was like a $40, $50 entry, and there was like a free-to-play game, Marvel Rivals, right around the corner with a big Marvel IP attached to it. That was a very unfortunate turn of events for that team. But it's weird because y'all didn't want a hero shooter, but yet y'all gobble up Marvel Rivals. I don't understand. These gaming companies are just, they're so used to treating the community like shit. Like Call of Duty, there's very little innovation within like each year of Call of Duty. Like this year for like what, Black Ops 6, it had Omni movement. That was the big, gimmick for this year. And I really don't want to get into specifics, but like they backtrack with every Call of Duty. They make a few improvements. They add little features and stuff throughout the year that makes the game more streamlined and like just, fun to play. But within the next year, when the next, Call of Duty game comes out, they backtrack all of it and then add it again throughout the year, and they expect praise, which is, stupid. And the community is definitely not voting with their wallet on that game because, Call of Duty does numbers every single year. Same with the 2K people, which I think just everyone in that group is just so brain dead and stupid. They make an insane amount of money. Why would they change? But on my Marathon Community Divided video, I got some really interesting comments that I really wanted to go over because most of them are stupid and then a lot of them just don't know what the hell they're talking about. And I just didn't have the energy to like sit down and type out every response. So I'm just gonna do it, right here. Alright, so here's the video, which is, doing pretty well. This is very rare for me. Thank you. I am trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. And you know what? Even if you don't, if you made it this far in the video, thank you. But let's read up these comments. I agree with the whole NDA thing. Yeah, this was like, this was like 5 days ago before we had the NDA lifted. Bungie's community at the moment is very PvE focused. Yes, it definitely is. It's because, Destiny. Sure, there are PvP game modes, but those are mild and you can't lose your stuff. Also, very true. It's Destiny 2, yeah. To come out and do something completely different is what has most people on the fence. Yeah, no, I agree. Sure, the game isn't for everyone. Well, he said anyone, but, he meant everyone. But a company that needs their next game to be a success to get Sony off their back could use all the sales they can get. No, yeah, Bungie definitely needs a win after that Lightfall blunder. It really set them back. Because the final shape was such a golden expansion. It was like the best thing Destiny has ever produced. But everybody was so burned after Lightfall that they just didn't give it, the time of day, which is very upsetting. And it is understandable. That was, definitely on Bungie's behalf. Also, launching Marathon with little content, 3 maps, few runners isn't great. Yeah, this is definitely just not it, because I'm pretty sure most extraction shooters on launch don't have 3 maps, which there's gonna be 4. The 4th one is coming like during season 1. And what do you mean few runners? There is 6, and they've only shown 4 so far. And I'm pretty sure more are coming after launch. I would love to have, all of the stuff in the game, but, companies need player retention, so that's why they sprinkle out content throughout the year. So they have people coming back, more and more. They don't just like, play the game one and done and then they never touched again. That's like the philosophy they're thinking from. They're like, what content can we put in the game at launch that, hooks them, and then we could just feed them content throughout the year. That's like what what they're thinking. They're trying to break into the niche genre where their competitors are Hunt Showdown and Tarkov. Yeah, in my opinion, and I know this is going to be a very hot take, these are not that big competitors. Just because one game is on console and the other is, completely isolated in PC. And it's Bungie. A lot of people are going to buy the game just because it's a Bungie title. And if you don't think that's the case, you're totally delusional. Some of those players may check out Marathon, but how many will stick around? That is quite the gamble. I hope it works out for them, but personally, I would love to see more of a PvE focused game as well. And going back to Hunt Showdown and Tarkov, I didn't mean to shit on them saying oh, they're no threat to Bungie. I just mean that there is definitely not that much competition that you think there is. But yeah, I did end up replying to this guy. I said, yeah, you don't think there's a lot of content? What do you mean? I was like, you're comparing a game which is an alpha to extraction shooters that have been out for years, which he definitely was. And then he said they're trying to break into a niche when their competitors are Hunt Showdown and Tarkov. Okay, I guess. And then I replied with, yes, it's a drastic jump, going from a life service looter shooter MMO like Destiny to a PvP extraction shooter. It's a very drastic change, but I also said you could also say that from Bungie back in the day. They went from Halo, which is a single player story game with a PvP side, very similar to how Call of Duty is. They went from that to Destiny, which is an MMO looter shooter, which on release was a little rocky, and then when they made The Taken King, I think a year later, it exploded in popularity, and it made Destiny the most successful looter shooter in the genre, simply for the fact it's been going on for 10 plus years. Okay, what did this guy say? Halo 1 launched in 2001, had a 10 chapter campaign plus 2 game modes with 13 maps, and was developed by 40 people. Yeah, buddy, I don't know if you understand that was a completely different time back then. I would love this today. You don't think people would love a complete game at launch? But most developers just don't do that anymore. And the ones that do are usually the single player games with no multiplayer at all. Like The Last of Us, Uncharted, the new Indiana Jones game. These are complete games at launch. I don't even think extraction shooters existed back then. But let's continue reading this guy's post, where most development of the game took place in 9 months. Marathon is launching with no campaign, 1 game mode, 3 maps, by a team made by 300 people, who have had 6 years of dev time and millions of dollars. Yeah, again, you're comparing a live service game, which they're making, to something that was made over 20 years ago. Live service didn't exist back then. These live service games have made way more money than Halo 1, 2, and 3 probably ever made combined. And I know, that sounds weird. It definitely sounded weird coming out my mouth. But it's true. Just because there's more people playing games now than ever. This screams minimum viable product for a team who had no vision. No, they definitely had a vision. They removed that one guy that was working on the game for, years because he was doing some pretty weird stuff in the workplace. And then they ended up getting the Valorant director. So that's why I'm pretty sure it's a hero shooter now. And if the rumors are true, it started as an NFT crypto game project, which would explain why the game was in development hell for so long. All right, sorry for the cut. I spent 20 to 30 minutes trying to find if there was any NFT crypto rumors starting with Marathon. I couldn't find any. I think you're just probably an idiot that's probably on Twitter too much, and I don't know where the hell you got NFT crypto game from, but okay, bro. The Marathon community is the Destiny community. Yes and no. The people that solved the ARG, definitely the Destiny community. They 100% did that. Which, weirdly enough, I guess you could say the zombies community too, spearheaded by, Mr. Waffle Waffles Milo. They're a huge chunk of, the community that's making up Marathon. This guy said DMZ is free. It came with Warzone, which, yeah, it's true. I thought you had to pay $60 to get into Warzone, but no, you had to pay $60 for MWZ, which is the zombies version. I definitely had that mixed up. So yeah, DMZ was free. That's on me. That's on me. The Division 2 did it right. A co-op PvE extraction shooter with mechanics in the dark zone. I do kind of agree with you. Except remove this too. Yeah, the Division 2 was not that great. I heard it got really good during the DLCs, the New York DLCs and stuff. But if you had a Division that was set only in New York, I think that would do pretty good. Oh wait, yeah, there is. Yeah, the Division 1. That's where it was really good. So the Division did it right. That's what you meant to say. A co-op PvE extraction shooter with mechanics in the Dark Zone. Yes, the Dark Zone in the Division was, amazing. Also, they build it with the community is such a bullshit excuse for not having a vision for the game. Yeah, I guess I could see that opinion, but I mean, you gotta be very volatile when you're doing an extraction shooter. That's my guess, because anything can change on a dime. I mean, look at Helldivers. They're literally building it with the community. And the people at Helldivers, they seem like they're having a fun day every day. The community over there is like sunshine and rainbows. For the entire development so far, they have catered to streamers and valuing their opinions over the regular gamers. I'm not gonna lie, brother, the regular gamers are people that have jobs and families that come home every day and try to get a few hours in before they have to go to work the next day. That is the regular gamer. And if you think they're thinking about this, you're you're stupid. Like, are we just gonna forget about the whole movement versus like boots on the ground stuff that happened like what, 10 years ago with Advanced Warfare and Infinite Warfare, and like what, Black Ops, was it 3 and 4? It had all this like extra movement, the jetpacks and all that stuff. Fast gameplay, jumping, shooting, sliding, all that. And then the gamers were like, whoa, wait, hold up, this is too much movement. We want boots on the ground. And then y'all got boots on the ground for like 6 or 7 years. Now y'all want extreme movement back. Right there is when I started to realize that the gaming community is just, they don't know what they want. They want games to be colorful. You get a colorful game. Wait, hold up. We don't want color anymore. We don't want movement. Okay, let's give them games a little bit of a slower pace. Oh wait, actually we do want movement. Okay, let's give them MW 2019, which had like the best movement. And then they criticize that for looking too realistic. It's just all this flip-flop stuff. You literally do not know what you want. Do you want games to have a vision, or do you want games to like follow the community? It's just, I don't understand. And games rarely do both of those things. Like Helldivers 2, that's a rare example. I don't wish for the game to fail, but Bungie made the decision to make it hard on themselves. And then I said, yeah, I agree, but Ubisoft is definitely not the best when it comes to that sort of stuff. Bungie definitely has an uphill battle, which, yeah. All right, let's read this. I think people are tired of the live service slop from AAA developers. No, you're definitely not. Look at Helldivers, look at Marvel Rivals, and look at, what is it, The First Ascendant. The gaming community, stupid. They're not tired of it. And people are definitely tired of the gaslighting that we should care about 300-person development teams taking over half a decade to deliver a minimum viable product that is riddled with microtransactions and offers less than games we got in the 90s and 2000s. I mean, is this game going to be riddled with microtransactions? I don't know if they've said that, but I mean, yeah, let's be real, it's Bungie. It's definitely gonna be riddled by microtransactions. But I don't know, if it's good, people will buy it. Who cares about microtransactions if it doesn't give you an edge in the game? If it's cosmetic, who cares? But yeah, offers less than games that we've had in the 90s and 2000s. Yeah, it's just not like that anymore. It's not the 90s or 2000s, buddy. Again, if people don't like this, vote with your wallet. But they're not gonna, because live service games are still making bangers. You have Fortnite, the most successful game in the world, Marvel Rivals, Overwatch, Destiny, The First Ascendant. People are definitely not tired of live service. If they were, these games wouldn't succeed. But let's keep reading. In the span of 6 years, Bungie released Halo 1, 2, and 3. Okay, you're just comparing Halo to like what, the most recent stuff? We get it, buddy. This was 20 years ago. Let it go. The gaming culture and all that was totally different back then. And these games did not make that much money as games today. Again, that is very weird to say because these are all amazing genre-defining games. They're like the gold standard of what you strive and want to be. But compared to live service games, blow these games in terms of revenue out the water. And that's what the top people above the devs are looking at. Gamers aren't voting with their wallets because if they were, they'd go back to making games like this. Marathon is launching as a multiplayer-only live service game with only one game mode, 3 maps, no campaign. Think about that. Halo, okay, yeah, different time back then, bud. But it's an extraction shooter, so that's just one game mode, not a popular one either. And you want them to do a popular game mode? I thought gamers wanted like unique stuff. And if they did do a popular game mode, what are you gonna say? That they're following trends? I don't understand. This flip-flopping is just insane. Yeah, but that's like Bungie's thing. They take not popular things and make them mainstream. An MMO was unheard of on console, and then they made Destiny, which is the biggest MMO probably on console. Or, it was until like, Final Fantasy and all that stuff came in. But Bungie brought the MMO space, the MMO genre, to console. They did. They brought it over with Destiny. And I'm pretty sure that's what they're trying to do with Marathon, they're bringing the extraction shooter experience to console. The only difference is there's already some extraction shooters on console, so it's going to be, kind of a harder fight. The reality is people are tired of paying more for less. No, they're not. 2K, the 2K games make more money than you can ever imagine. I applaud anyone who doesn't find this appealing for finally not deciding to pay for nonsense. Yeah, you're probably applauding probably like 6 people. Oh, and if you're a Marathon fan, this kills any hope of getting a reboot, remake, similar to System Shock 1 remake or Doom 2016. Yeah, I don't think you're talking to anybody, buddy. There's like, what, 7 Marathon fans and they're all like in their 60s? Okay, I guess. 748, this is a bad mindset. What did I say? What did I say? It's 7:48. Okay, I said Bungie made nothing but bangers, which is true, and they're eventually gonna make the game good. That's what I said. People should be pushing back for a completed game that works and has actual meat and potatoes instead of bare bones release of Destiny 1 and 2. Okay, I want you to go look at the extraction shooters that we have now. I want you to go back on release. Like go what do they look like on release? Do they have meat and potatoes? Because I'm pretty sure they don't. I think Marathon by far of any extraction shooter is going to have the most content like on day one, because they're gonna have raid mechanics, secrets, and all that already implemented into the game, which we have like no idea about. And they're gonna have 4 maps. Does any extraction shooter launch with like 4 maps? Or okay, let's not say 4 because people are gonna get shitty about it. They're launching with 3, and then season 1 launching another one. What extraction shooter on release has had that much content? Please let me know. Saying it's normal and it will be better 10 years later is a joke. Okay, saying it's normal is not a joke. It definitely is normal. I mean, just look at Final Fantasy XIV. That game was totally overhauled, and now it's the biggest MMO in the world. People's wallets speak more volumes than people's opinions online. Do you not know what the most successful game in the world is? It's Fortnite. Can every game be Fortnite? No, it can't. Is every game trying to follow in Fortnite's footsteps? Yes, Fortnite literally created the seasonal model and the battle pass, and everybody else is doing that. This isn't 2005 anymore. That doesn't make money. What the companies are doing now makes money, and it's not going to change because people buy it and that's what they like. I think their main problem is that Bungie didn't make Destiny 3, which is fair because Destiny 2 sucks D. Fair enough. People just don't want an extraction shooter. That opinion falls over the entire game for so many people. I personally am looking forward to the game. Yeah, and that's fine. If you don't want an extraction shooter, just the game's not for you. The problem is that their comeback is a dying genre. All big studios do is copy other game ideas and try to be relevant and make money because they don't have any original ideas of their own. These companies will release a product and update it over time to make it better. Yes, that's called an early access game, but AAA companies like Bungie call it premium live service instead so they can scam normies. Yeah, I had a whole back and forth with this idiot like a day ago. So let's read the same thing. Yeah, I said Ubisoft does the same thing, so does Call of Duty, Fortnite, Capcom games, and Helldivers, and actually most AAA games. An early access game is something like Path of Exile 2, where the story and most mechanics aren't even in the game yet. I'm not saying that this is the correct or best model for businesses, to have. It's super volatile, which it is. It could fail or be successful at any time. And then he said Ubisoft has been taking the worst decisions in the gaming industry for the past 10 years, and you want them to follow their path? Nowhere did I say that, but this idiot definitely can't read. Yes, just like PoE 2, the story and most mechanics aren't in Marathon yet and won't be in 5 months. Tarkov has been in early access for almost 9 years and has 10 times the content. So why are you comparing it to a game that's not even out yet? These comparisons are they're just completely brain dead. And then I said, nowhere did I say I wanted Bungie to follow what they're doing. I'm just saying that it's an industry practice. And then he said, my guy, I followed 100 of Steam's early access games since day Z. I've backed Kickstarter projects like Ready or Not, and I know what an early access game is. So you think in 5 months they'll be ready to go from the alpha state they showed to a finished, polished product? I've never seen anyone be able to accomplish that in 20 years of gaming. You're delusional. That's what I think this idiot sounds like. Was that a good voice? Did I do a good job? But good for you, buddy. Over 100 Steam games? You're an upstanding gamer. I strive to be like you. Fucking idiot. And then he starts arguing with this William guy back and forth. William said, I hope you were smarter outside of your video game takes. Yeah, he's an idiot. Oh, he deleted it. No, he responded to me again, like after this. He said I was like stupid to argue with or something. He said I was like worthless. I can't remember the exact words he said, but I wanted to read that. Oh no, when he deleted it. But yeah, all these takes, I feel like people are just comparing the now to what the back then, which I mean, I guess you can do. It's not really fair because if we're comparing the now to then, I'm pretty sure like, what is it? Among Us, like, that indie game, I'm pretty sure Among Us has made more money than like Halo 1. Does that seem like a stupid comparison? It's because it is. You cannot compare like the now to the then. It's stupid. But let's read this last comment. Well, yes, it's divided into the part of the player base that actually has paid attention to Destiny 2 development. Oh, I don't know why I like that. Let me unlike that, okay? Well, let me reread this. That threw me off. Well, yes, it's divided into the part of the player base that has actually paid attention to Destiny 2's development and understands nothing good can come from Bungo anymore, and the part that hasn't. Nothing good can come from Bungie anymore. Why is everything so hyperbolic? Hasn't it been great lately? Has it been horrible and nothing good? Also, no. We can say that something is good, but that it isn't for us without bashing someone's creation. And then this guy said, we can also say that there's been overall more bad than good. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop reading right there. We literally had like Witch Queen and The Final Shape were like two bangers, like really close to each other. They're only a year apart. God damn it, if Lightfall was good, you y'all just wouldn't be talking crap. And Lightfall, it was okay. The storytelling was abysmal. It was garbage. But the content in Lightfall was pretty good. I like Strand. You didn't like Strand? Strand was pretty good. But I don't want to go into a Destiny rant. But yeah, that's all I had to say. To summarize, I don't like the gaming community. They don't know what they want. They say vote with their wallets, but then they buy stupid shit like 2K. People say they're tired of live service, yet Fortnite, Marvel Rivals, and stuff like that are doing insanely well. I don't understand. They say they don't want hero shooters, but you know, Marvel Rivals exists. Something I also forgot to touch on, everybody hated Assassin's Creed Shadows, and they said it was gonna flop for, you know, at stupid reasons, but it ended up having like what, I think 20 million players. Just, I don't know, what do you want, gaming community? You're stupid. I don't even know how many times I've said that word. I don't know, man. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Ugh, I don't know. I don't like the gaming community. If you think they're dumb, like, subscribe. I'm definitely gonna be doing marathon content, and I guess on that note, I'm going to bed. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.